Welcome back, everyone. We're diving deep today, kind of like embarking on a quest, a quest for spiritual wholeness.
Ooh, I like that.
And we're also going to tackle this idea of dominion, but not in the like controlling, power-hungry kind of way, more like partnering with something, well, way bigger than ourselves.
Right, more like stewardship and collaboration.
Exactly. And we've got some really cool stuff to guide us today. Excerpts from Ascending Together, Quest for Spiritual Wholeness. That title alone just draws you in, right?
It does.
And then we got this blog post called, get this, Heaven's Blueprint for Earthly Rulership. Definitely piqued my interest.
Mine too. The titles are so different, but it seems like they might actually go hand in hand.
Totally. Like, one's about that inner transformation, and the other is how that plays out in the world.
It's like two sides of the same coin. I'm curious to see how they connect.
Me too. So let's start with Ascending Together. It's all about understanding those roles within a spiritual community. Apostles, prophets, evangelists, the whole crew.
I've always been a little fuzzy on the distinctions between those, honestly.
Me too. But this book dives into Ephesians 4.017. It's basically about the gifts God gives to help people mature in their faith. So it's not just about, like, knowing stuff. It's about finding your place, your purpose.
Ah, so it's more practical than theoretical?
Exactly. And get this, they've made those ancient scriptures relevant for us today.
Well, that's a relief. The Bible can feel pretty dense sometimes.
Oh, for sure. But instead of all that theological jargon, they use storytelling and sensory language. It makes it feel more real, more relatable.
I love that. It's like they're bringing those stories to life.
Yeah, and they include these powerful testimonials, reading about how these teachings have actually changed people's lives.
That's got to be impactful, like seeing it in action.
Totally. It adds that human element. It's not just theory, it's real-life experience.
And from what I've skimmed, they've structured the book in a really user-friendly way. Key takeaways, thought-provoking questions. It seems perfect for personal study or even a group discussion.
Oh, yeah. I noticed that, too. Yeah, definitely seems like something you could dig into with others.
And that emphasis on community, on unity.
Yeah.
It makes me think about our next source, Heaven's Blueprint for Earthly Rulership.
Right. That title, I admit, it sounds kind of intimidating at first. Like, am I going to be learning how to rule the world or something?
Right.
Yeah.
Like some kind of master plan for domination.
But it's actually the opposite. The blog post starts with Genesis 1.26, the verse where God grants mankind dominion over the earth.
Okay, yeah, I'm familiar with that one.
But they challenge that traditional interpretation of dominion being all about control.
Interesting. So what do they say it's about then?
They dig into the original Hebrew and Greek, and they emphasize stewardship, responsibility, partnership with God. Like, not just, I'm in charge, everyone listen to me.
So more like, we're in this together, let's work together to make things awesome.
Yeah. They actually use this great analogy of a shepherd, which really clicked for me.
I love a good analogy. Tell me more.
A good shepherd, cares for the flock, protects them, provides for them. It's not about exploitation, it's about nurturing and guiding.
Ah, so that's how they see our relationship with the earth. We're the shepherds, and the earth is our flock.
Exactly. It's powerful, right? And they break down God's original plan for humankind into 7 key points to further illustrate this whole dominion thing.
7 points. Okay, we've got our work cut out for us.
Well, luckily for us, they're really fascinating points. Like, the first one is about establishing a family. Not a bunch of servants, but sons and daughters. Like, reflecting God's nature, not just blindly following rules.
I like that. More of a collaborative relationship.
Right. And the second point builds on that. It's about creating a kingdom, not just another religious system.
So less about hierarchy and more about principles. Interesting.
And then it gets even cooler.
Okay.
The third point is about establishing a kingdom of kings, not subjects.
Oh, hold on. A kingdom of kings.
Yeah. It challenges that idea of believers just being passive followers. It's about reigning with Christ, exercising authority in our own lives.
I'm sensing a theme here. Empowerment, not just obedience.
You got it. And points 4 and 5 are all about relationships.
Relationships are key. You can't have a kingdom without people.
For sure. It's about building a commonwealth of citizens united by shared values. And of course, nurturing that relationship with God.
Makes sense. Strong relationships are the foundation of any healthy community.
Okay, so point 6 gets a little mind-bending. It talks about extending God's heavenly government to earth.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued. What does that even look like?
Right. It's about bringing heaven's best qualities, peace, justice, love, and making them a tangible reality here and now.
Wow, that's a lofty goal.
It is. It's about bringing heaven down to earth, which I love. And the seventh point explains how we do that. It's through us, mankind, acting as God's agents, that his influence can really change the world.
So we're like conduits of divine light. I like that
Yeah,
imagery.
me too. It's a huge responsibility, but
Yeah.
also incredibly empowering.
It is. And to help us wrap our heads around this kingdom concept, the blog post actually breaks down 10 key components of a kingdom. Think of it like a cheat sheet.
A cheat sheet for building God's kingdom? I'm in.
Haha, exactly. So first, you need a king, the ultimate authority. In this case, that's
Right.
Jesus.
Makes sense. And then territory,
Mm-hmm.
the domain of the kingdom, which is earth, right?
Yep. Created by God, but entrusted to us for stewardship. It's like we're caretakers of this amazing planet.
Then there's the Constitution, the guiding principles. So in this context, it's the Word of God.
So the Bible becomes the ultimate rule book. And of course, you need citizens. That's us, the believers. We're the ones who make up this kingdom.
Then we have the laws, or in this case, kingdom principles, the guidelines for how to live in alignment with God's will.
So it's not about blindly following rules, but living according to principles that actually make sense and benefit everyone.
Right. But it's not all about rules and regulations. They also mention privileges, the blessings that come with being part of this kingdom.
Oh, right, like the perks of citizenship.
Exactly. It's a reminder that there's joy and abundance when we align ourselves with God's ways.
Makes sense. And like any well-functioning kingdom, there's a code of ethics.
Right. Guiding our conduct, helping us reflect God's character in everything we do. It's about walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
And of course, there's the army, those who protect and defend the kingdom.
So in this case, that's angels and believers, those committed to fighting for what's right, standing against injustice.
It's like a spiritual army. And then there's the Commonwealth, where resources are shared and everyone's taken care of.
Yes. That sense of community, of mutual support, it ties back to that idea of unity we were talking about earlier.
It's about looking out for each other, making sure everyone has what they need to thrive.
And lastly, every kingdom has its own social culture. And in God's kingdom, that culture is based on righteousness, peace, and joy.
All fueled by the Holy Spirit. So it's
Right.
not about being stuffy or rigid. It's about experiencing those deep, abiding qualities in our lives.
And they even offer 5 practical ways to apply this whole dominion thing. Like, how do we actually live this out?
Right, because it can all sound a bit abstract, right? Give me the actionable steps.
Totally. So first up is stewardship, which we've touched on. It's about being responsible for what God has given us. Our time, our talents, our resources.
That's a big one. Stewardship can apply to so many areas of life.
It really can. Then there's representation, being an ambassador for God's kingdom, letting our actions speak louder than words.
It's like walking billboards for a better way of life. Love that.
And then there's prayer, which we often underestimate, but it's that direct line of communication with God. It's aligning our hearts with his will, inviting his power into our lives. And we can pray for others, lifting up their needs, asking for God to intervene.
So it's like a two-way street. We're not just talking at God, we're also listening and allowing him to guide us.
Exactly. And then we have engagement, finding our unique place in God's kingdom and using our gifts to make a positive impact, whether it's through our work, hobbies, relationships.
That makes it feel more accessible, like we don't have to be doing something grand or extraordinary. It's about finding meaning in the everyday.
Totally. And finally, there's unity, the recognition that we're not meant to do this alone. We need each other. We need to support and encourage each other.
Unity. Such a powerful concept. It's like that saying, united we stand, divided we fall.
Absolutely. We're stronger together.
Yeah.
So those are our 2 sources. Quite a bit to unpack, right?
A lot to digest, for sure. But it's so fascinating how they both seem to point to this idea of transformation, both within ourselves and in the world around us.
Wow. It really is amazing how those 2 sources, though they seem so different on the surface, actually complement each other.
Yeah, it's like a beautiful dance between the personal and the universal.
Ascending together is all about that personal transformation, becoming whole in our spiritual journeys, right?
It is.
And then Heaven's Blueprint takes it a step further, showing us how that wholeness can ripple outward, impacting the world around us.
It's like that old saying, you can't pour from an empty cup. You have to be filled up yourself before you can give to others.
Absolutely. And ascending together really drives that point home. I love how they talk about making those ancient scriptures come alive, like helping us to feel the textures of grace and the resonance of those divine callings.
It's so true. It's not just about intellectual understanding. It's about experiencing faith on a deeper, more visceral level.
I love how they use such vivid sensory language to draw us in. They talk about feeling those textures of grace. It might sound a little strange at first, but it really speaks to that idea of engaging all of our senses, not just our intellect.
Engaging all of our senses, that's a really interesting way to think about it. It's like they're inviting us to have a multisensory experience of faith.
And that actually connects back to Heaven's blueprint and those 5 practical applications of dominion they outline: stewardship, representation, prayer, engagement, and unity.
Those are great.
Those aren't just abstract concepts to ponder, they're actions we can take,
Mm-hmm.
ways to bring our faith to life, make it tangible.
Exactly. It's about moving beyond passive belief and becoming active participants in God's kingdom. And that participation can take so many different forms.
So true.
Like stewardship might look like managing our finances wisely, being mindful of our consumption, or taking care of our physical health. All of those things are ways of honoring God with what He's given us.
Right? It's about recognizing that everything we have is a gift and treating it accordingly.
And then there's representation, being an ambassador for God's kingdom in everything we do, letting our actions speak louder than words.
We're like walking billboards for a better way of life.
I love that. We're walking billboards, and then there's prayer, which sometimes I think we forget how powerful it can be.
It's more than just reciting words.
It is.
It's about cultivating a relationship with God, aligning our hearts with His will, and inviting His wisdom and guidance into our lives. And it's also a way to intercede for others, lifting up their needs and asking for God's intervention.
Absolutely. Prayer is such a powerful tool that we often take for granted. And then we have engagement, which I think sometimes people struggle with.
It can be hard to know where to start.
It can be, but it's really about finding our unique place in God's kingdom and using our gifts and talents to make a positive impact.
Our unique place, that's important.
It is. And it could be through our work, our creative pursuits, our relationships, any area where we feel called to make a difference.
We all have something special to offer.
We do. And finally, we have unity. I think this is one of the most important, if not the most important aspect of dominion. It's recognizing that we're not meant to do this alone.
We need each other.
Yes, we need each other. We need to support each other, encourage each other, and work together towards a common goal.
And when we do that, when we come together in unity, incredible things can happen.
They can. The Bible says that where 2 or 3 are gathered in His name, there He is in the midst of them. And I think we can all think of examples of this in our own lives.
For sure.
Whether it's a community coming together to help someone in need or a group of people working together to achieve a shared goal, there's so much power in unity.
And a sense of belonging, which is so essential for human beings.
It is.
So taking a step back and thinking about all of this, what does it mean for us, for you listening right now? What are we supposed to do with all of this information?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that we're all on a journey of spiritual growth. And as we grow and mature in our faith, we become better equipped to exercise dominion in a way that reflects God's love and brings His kingdom to earth. It's not about power or control. It's about responsibility, stewardship, partnership, and collaboration.
It's about recognizing that incredible potential that lies within each of us to make a real difference in the world.
It is.
But it's important to acknowledge that this journey isn't always easy. There will be challenges, setbacks, times when we feel discouraged or inadequate.
Absolutely. We're all human. We're going to make mistakes. But even in those difficult moments, we can find strength in knowing that we're not alone.
We have God on our side.
We do. And we have each other. We're on this journey together.
And that sense of community, that feeling of being connected to something bigger than ourselves, is what makes this journey so worthwhile.
It does. It gives it meaning and purpose.
It's about ascending together towards wholeness, towards purpose, towards a brighter future for ourselves and for the world around us.
I love that. Ascending together.
And speaking of a brighter future, both of these sources seem to be hinting at something really intriguing. They talk about God's original plan for humanity, about establishing a kingdom here on earth. But they also talk about a future kingdom, a heavenly kingdom that we're all striving towards.
Yes, there's definitely a sense of mystery and anticipation there.
So how do those two kingdoms connect? How does our journey of spiritual growth here and now prepare us for that future kingdom?
How do they connect?
How do we bring those heavenly principles to bear on our earthly lives?
Those are some really big questions, and I think they're the kind of questions that can really make us think differently about our lives and our purpose. If we can understand that connection, if we can grasp the bigger picture, it changes everything.
It does. It puts everything in perspective. It gives us a new framework for understanding our lives, our purpose, our place in the grand scheme of things.
It does.
It's like we're being invited to participate in something much grander than we could ever imagine. And the exciting thing is we don't have to wait to experience it. We can start living out those kingdom principles right now in our everyday lives.
We can. And by doing so, we're not only transforming our own lives, but we're also contributing to the building of that future kingdom. It's like we're laying the foundation for something truly extraordinary.
And that's a really exciting thought, isn't it?
It is.
To think that our actions here and now can have such a profound impact on the future. So let's continue this exploration. We're about to unpack some truly mind-blowing ideas about how the earthly and heavenly kingdoms connect. Stay with us. All right, so we've been talking to these two kingdoms, one here on earth, one in heaven. And I got to say, it's kind of making my head spin. It's like two different dimensions at the same time.
It is a pretty complex concept.
It is.
But what's really interesting to me is how both ascending together and Heaven's Blueprint suggests that the key to understanding how these two kingdoms connect is, well, us.
Us. Okay, explain that one.
It's about that inner transformation we talked about, leading to outward action. Ascending together focuses on developing those roles within the spiritual community, right?
Right, like finding your place, your purpose.
And then the blog post is all about applying kingdom principles, like being those heavenly ambassadors right here, right now.
So it's not about waiting for some far-off future kingdom to just appear, poof.
Not at all. It's about embodying those kingdom values now in our lives, our relationships, our work, our communities.
We become like little pockets of heaven all over earth. I like that.
Exactly. And those 7 points from Heaven's Blueprint, building a family, a kingdom of kings, a commonwealth, having strong relationships, extending God's government, they're not just ideas.
They're more like...
They're like blueprints for how we can start building a society that reflects God's heart, like a taste of what that ultimate kingdom will be like.
You know, when you put it that way, those 10 components of a kingdom, the king, the territory, the constitution, all that, they don't seem so abstract anymore.
They become practical, applicable.
They really do. It's like we have the structure right there to build a better world, a more just world, a more loving world, a more peaceful world.
And those practical applications of dominion we discussed, stewardship, representation, prayer, engagement, unity, those aren't just for religious people, are they?
No, you're right. They're principles anyone can use.
Exactly. Whether you're running a business, leading a team, or just trying to be a better friend or neighbor, those values can make a difference anywhere.
What really stands out to me from all of this is it's not about escaping this world for a better one.
Yeah.
It's about bringing heaven down to earth.
Yeah.
We're like agents of change, bridge builders, kingdom carriers.
You know what I find really fascinating is it's not about force or coercion.
Yep.
It's about influence.
Yeah.
It's about letting our light shine so brightly that others are drawn to it. Remember that shepherd analogy?
Oh, yeah. A good shepherd guides and protects.
It's about leading with love, care, and wisdom, inviting others into this incredible adventure of spiritual growth and kingdom building.
And that sense of adventure is key, right? This isn't about following a bunch of rules.
No way.
It's about embracing a whole new way of living, a new way of seeing the world and interacting with each other.
It is. It's about changing our perspective.
Stepping into who we really are. Children of God, kings and queens, agents of transformation. Whoa, that's powerful.
Yeah, it is powerful. And it makes me wonder, for you listening right now, if you really believed you were part of something this big, this meaningful, how would it change your actions, your choices, your priorities?
That's a big one. How would it change how you interact with the world around you?
It's something to really think about.
It is. We've explored some pretty deep concepts today, but I hope you're feeling as energized as I am. Ascending together. It's a journey, not a destination. And it's a journey filled with so much potential, both for our own growth and for the impact we can have on the world. So go out there, embrace your role as a kingdom carrier, and let your light shine. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and until next time, keep seeking, keep growing, and keep ascending together.